Welcome to the Airlift Workshop, where you get expertise from the air suspension specialists, keeping you on the road and in top condition for over 70 years. Today, we'll be demonstrating the installation of our LoadLifter 5000 air spring kit on a 2024 Toyota Tacoma. Installation may take up to 2.5 hours to complete using common mechanics tools. Remember, this video does not replace your installation guide, so grab yours out of the box and let's get started. Lift the vehicle and support the frame with safety stands. Remove the rear wheels. Drop the axle down low enough to later set the air springs into position between the frame and the axle. Unbolt and remove the jounce bumper assembly from under the frame on both sides. Remove the bolts holding the module to the right side frame rail. Remove the plastic frame hole covers from the side of the frame. Remove the electric brake wiring harness connector. Install the wiring harness relocation brackets onto the axle brackets where the connectors were previously mounted with the 1/4-inch hex head bolt and 1/4-inch serrated flange lock nut. Torque to spec. Push the connector into the new bracket. Insert the lower axle U-bolt from the back of the right side axle just outboard of the lower spring seat. Rotate it so the threaded portion is pointing up. To install the U-bolt on the left side, it will be necessary to remove the bolt holding the brake line bracket on the back side of the axle. Reinstall the bolt removed from the hard brake line on the back side of the axle. Install the 2 frame brackets to the underside of the frame using the M8 button head cap screws, making sure the large cutout in the bracket is facing outboard and is behind the axle. Leave loose at this time. Slide the left and right hand upper braces into position on top of the frame brackets previously installed. For alignment purposes, insert 2 3/8-inch carriage bolts down through the outboard square holes/slots as shown and cap with 2 3/8-inch serrated lock nuts. Tighten finger tight only. Install the 8mm hex flange bolt through the sides of the brackets and into the frame. Push both left hand and right hand assemblies as far forward in the slots as possible. Torque all hardware except the carriage bolts to spec. Remove the carriage bolts previously used for alignment purposes. Install the module bracket removed earlier onto the passenger side upper brace with the remaining 8mm hex flange bolt and cap with 8mm flat washer and 8mm nylon lock nut. Let's assemble the air springs. Set a roll plate over the top of the air spring. Install the straight fitting into the air port on the air spring. Tighten the fitting 1.5 turns past finger tight. Insert 2 carriage bolts into each air spring upper bracket. Then set both brackets over both air spring assemblies, but flip the brackets opposite of each other when attaching, making them left and right hand units. Attach the upper brackets with 3/8-inch button head cap screws and torque to no more than 20 pound-feet. Flip the assemblies over and set the roll plates over the bottom of the air springs. The lower brackets are left and right hand specific, and the finger on the lower brackets must be pointing in the same direction as the large cutout on the side of the upper brackets. Attach the lower bracket with the 3/8-inch hex cap screws, lock washers, and flat washers. Torque to no more than 20 pound-feet. With the axle hanging, set the left and right hand assemblies into position on the axle, making sure the inboard U-bolts previously installed insert into the inboard holes of the lower bracket. Raise the axle up while aligning the 2 carriage bolts in the upper spring bracket with the existing holes in the frame bracket. Install the remaining carriage bolt and cap with the 3/8-inch serrated flange lock nuts. Torque to 18 pound-feet. Ensure the lower bracket is nested on the axle correctly. Cap the inboard U-bolts with the 3/8-inch flat washers and nylon lock nuts. Leave loose at this time. Install the outboard U-bolts over the top of the axle and onto the finger of the lower bracket and cap with the axle saddle bracket, 3/8-inch flat washer, and nylon lock nut. Evenly torque both inside and outside U-bolt hardware to 16 pound-feet. To install the air lines, Begin by choosing locations for the Schrader valves and install those first. See the installation manual for detailed information. The nylon air lines are routed from the Schrader valves to the air springs. It is recommended that the air line be routed along the top of the frame and then down to the fitting, leaving about 2 inches of slack. Cut to length, making clean, square cuts with a razor blade or hose cutter. After cutting the air line to length, insert it into the fitting. Use zip ties to secure the air line to fixed points along the chassis. Do not pinch or kink the air line. That does it. Remember, you can find more information about all of our products at airliftcompany.com. And our knowledgeable customer service team is always just a phone call away. Thanks for joining us in the Airlift Workshop.